in the zone to be. From a yin to my yang to my yang to Z. Put a grin on my chin when you come to me. Cause I'll win, I'm a one of a kind, and I'll bring death to the place you're about to be. Another river of blood running under my feet. Forged in a fire lit long ago. Stand next to me, you'll never stand alone. I'm last to leave, but the first to go. Lord, make me dead before you make me old. I'll fade on the fear of the devil inside of the enemy faces in my sight. Aim with a hand, shoot with a mind, kill with a heart like Arctic ice.
I am a soldier and I'm marching on.
I am a soldier and I'm marching on.
I am a warrior, this is my song.
I am a warrior and this is my song. I bask in the glow of the rising war, lay waste to the ground of an enemy shore.
I read you Lima Charlie, loud and clear.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Lima Charlie, episode 30 with Larry Teakell. Welcome, Larry. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Larry Teakell here. I'm from Waco, Texas. I joined the Army in 1995. I retired in 2015. I did 20 years as a combat medic. Retired as a Sergeant First Class. Did 3 tours in Iraq. I did 1 tour in Bosnia, 1 tour in Macedonia. And now I'm retired now. I make knives, and I recently wrote a book about my experiences in Iraq and getting the Soldier's Medal.
Great. So do you come from a military family? Being right there in Waco, so close to formerly Fort Cavazos, now Fort Hood?
Most of my grandfathers and great-grandfathers and great-great-grandfathers were all in a war.
Okay.
My dad was in Vietnam. Grandpa was in Korea in World War II.
Okay. Were they Army? Were they other branches or?
Well, my dad's side was all Army, and my other side was all Navy and Marines.
Okay. So did your dad's service in the Army have any influence over you joining the Army, or did you consider any other branch, or what kind of made you even decide to join the military?
So my dad had serious issues with PTSD, and I never thought I was ever going to join the Army because I just didn't want to be part of that at the time. And I was being a young kid, and I was an artist by trade. I graduated high school and I went into the art field, and I was in a punk rock band, and I thought that was going to be my life. I thought I was going to be a singer for a punk rock band and do art. And I went to college for that, and then couldn't get a job, and I was still doing the band, and issues with the band, drugs and stuff. And I got out of that, and I had to pay child support. And I was like, I'm just going to join the Army for 4 years, get my college money, get my bachelor's degree or whatever, and continue on with life. But when I joined the Army, they gave me PFC, and I loved it. Day one, drill sergeants, everything, all that stuff, I loved it. Like I said in the book, I swallowed it hook, line, and sinker, and I just stayed in for the long haul.
Nice. So what was the name of your punk rock band?
The Casket Kids.
Casket Kids. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was also in a band called Corn Pone. I played a scarecrow, and if you ever heard of a band called Guar, it was like a Southern Fried punk rock version of Guar.
Yeah.
And we had a cult following here in Waco and San Antonio and Austin.
Right. So what year did you graduate?
1988.
1988. Okay, so you were very close. I got a friend who played in a band down in San Antonio called Gollum. It was real kind of heavy metal. He was in that scene for a while.
I think I've heard of that band. We opened up for Agony Column in San Antonio.
Okay.
You know who Agony Column is?
No.
They're a hardcore, heavy Texas band. or
Okay.
used to be back in the '90s. So
Okay. I'm originally from Texas as well. I was born and raised around Houston, so little
I was
little bit
born
of
in
town out.
Galveston. I was born in Galveston, but I lived most of my life in Waco.
Okay. Do you know where Anahuac, Texas is?
Have no clue.
Okay, it's kind of close to Galveston. That's where I'm from. Little bitty town, small
Oh
dot
yeah,
in the map. Yeah.
I
So
lived in
great.
LaGrange for a while and El Campo, Texas, for a while.
Okay. Okay. Um, so you decided to join the army, right? And
Yes.
you obviously you take the ASVAD. They kind of decide what you're going to go into. How did you end up in the medical field? How did you end up choosing
So
that?
I wanted to, I wanted to be a firefighter because I saw this video that they had, and they said that was going toward a contract to civilians. So I had to pick something else, and I said, "Well, what's next? What's the next best thing?" And they're like, "Well, being a medic, you could either be on the line or you could be in a hospital." And I'm like, and I heard a lot of cool stories about medics in the army, so I was like, "Give me that."
Okay. Dude, basic at Fort Leonard Wood? Is that what
Fort
you-
Leonard Wood, Missouri,
Yeah.
and then San Antonio for the AIT.
Yeah. I used to run the help desk at BAMC for a while. So awesome. So you go to basic training. Had you ever been outside of Texas? I mean, with the band, or you traveled outside of
No,
Texas or anything like that?
no.
So you never
no.
really left Texas.
The first plane I've ever been on was the trip to Missouri.
Okay. And of all the places,
Yeah,
Missouri. Missouri. Fort.
Fort Lawson Woods.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was frozen solid when I got there in January. So
Ooh, ooh. And so you get there, and were you thinking, "Oh shit, did I make a mistake?" Or
no, I didn't
what
think
were you
that at
thinking?
all.
No,
I
you
thought,
loved it.
what are we gonna do next?
Nice,
What are we gonna do next? Why are we stuck here? Let's get to
nice.
the training. I mean, I was ahead of the game, I guess.
Okay. Anything stand out in basic? I mean, a lot of us have just the standard basic stories, but anything
So
stand out?
so they gave me PFC when I joined because I had college, and I've never kicked myself in the butt for not being an officer, but because I wanted to be with the Joes, and I didn't really care about being an officer. For some reason, that just didn't stick with me. But when I got there at the PFC, they put me in charge of the squad. Now, I've never been in charge of anybody before. I didn't know how to do all that, but I learned really quick.
Trial by fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I love that. I love being outside. I love being in the woods, shooting guns, and having the drill sergeants teach us how to actually do it. And it just something flipped the switch at me, and it's like, this is what I'm going to do. I love this. This is nice.
Nice, nice. So you leave Missouri and you go to San Antonio. You're kind of back in familiar territory, right? You're there at
Yeah, it was
Fort
a
Sam.
different world because the humidity was like you had to slice it open first and then step through it.
Yeah.
But when I got there, people were talking mad shit about this Foxtrot company. Don't get in Foxtrot. Whatever you do, the drill sergeants are just mean, right? They're mean for no reason. Well, so you're already like planting a bad seed. So we get to this big auditorium, and they're like, "Is anybody here over 21?" Well, I raised my hand, right? Anybody here got a Texas driver's license? And I raised my hand. Okay, you guys come with me. And I just got off the bus, and so they made me the ARD driver for a sergeant major at Amen Center School.
Wow.
So my AIT was back 3 months. I was an ARD driver for like 3 months, and then I went back and started AIT. But for that 3 months, I didn't have I lived like a regular Joe, like permanent party,
That's crazy.
and I
And
had
San
a lot.
Antonio's not a bad place to be in the grand scheme of things. There's way worse places to be.
It was really hard going back to AIT where you had to live in a bay when I had my
Right.
own room for 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I
But it
bet.
was a good experience. And that's Sergeant Major Hessler was my sergeant major I took the vehicle to what's that place called? Camp.
Oh, I'm trying to think
I
of the
forgot
name
the
of
name
it.
of it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I
so
know what you're talking about.
you gotta drive to the camp where all the like the actual training and the courses are ran and stuff like that. And you gotta take it out there and get it dispatched and washed, and you come back, and that's pretty much what you do is you just drive the sergeant major to functions.
Camp Bullis.
Camp Bullets.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Doug told us in the chat. So yeah, Camp Bullis. So any good words of wisdom from that sergeant major while you were driving? I mean, knowing you were kind of you're not even I mean, you're trainee, yes, but I mean,
Well, he always told me just to listen to your leadership. And he also said, listen to your leadership. They're going to tell you things that you don't understand, but they're telling you for a reason.
sure.
So I took that to heart.
Good, good. Any how long is AIT for? And what was your? This was back in the '90s, so that was
Yeah, I was 91 Bravo,
'91. Yeah, it was a '91 series. Didn't they change that later to a different
68 whiskey.
'68? Okay, so you were 98, 91 Bravo. How long was that AIT?
It was 8 weeks.
Okay,
It was mainly long because you had to do the EMT qualification.
okay. I hear 8 weeks for me. I was signal. So I did 7 months my first AIT and I did 9 months my second. So I hear
Wow.
8 weeks and I'm like, that was short. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I went to
So,
Germany.
oh, Germany. So you leave AIT 8 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And what'd you think of the training? Was it, I mean, pretty easy for you? I mean, did you grasp
Well,
it pretty quick?
it was a different world. I mean, I didn't know anything about it. And EMT is not anything, nothing to do with what you do in the Army as a medic. But I mean, it's good training. I'm not going to kick that. You're qualified to help out on ambulance or drive an ambulance. I almost said ambulance. That's because I'm from Texas. But anyway, so I got to Germany and it was a different world. I was kind of used to, having my own room, whatever. I was married at the time. And so I got over there by myself and I was in 1-6 infantry.
Where was that out in Germany? Was that
Vilseck, Germany, right next to Grafenbeer.
Okay. Yes.
And then like 3 or 4 days after I got there, they switched it to 2-2 infantry mechanized.
Okay.
And then I drove a 113 as a medic. I was a driver / medic for a 113 ambulance.
Okay. Were you the only medic in the? I mean, how do they separate that out? Is it like one medic per platoon, one medic per?
So you have like 5 medics per platoon. Like if you're in a mechanized infantry, so you got a driver, TC, and 3 medics, and then you have medics that go on the line. So you have like 3 or 4 medics that go to each platoon. I mean, 1 per platoon. So I have a squad leader, and then I have a TC driver and a medic in the back for the vehicle. There's only 1 vehicle per company.
Okay. And no, I mean, obviously you're a medic and did your whole career. No problems with blood. None of that. Had you ever? Had any
No.
kind of medical training before you went through any of this? I mean,
No, except for like fake blood.
right. But I mean, you
And I was
probably being
into,
from Texas, you probably hunt, right? You probably hunt and fish, and so
yeah, I did. But I mean, the band that I was in was like, we did a lot of fake blood and was a lot of gore. We're into gore movies and stuff like that. So, I mean, it really didn't faze me. Now, my own blood is a different story.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're in Germany. What year is this at this point?
It's 1995. 1995 going on 96.
So you and I were probably in Germany at the same time. So I was in Heidelberg. I was stationed at a NATO assignment in Heidelberg, Germany. So
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Did you go to Bosnia or Macedonia?
I did. I spent a year total in Bosnia. I went for 6 months. I came back, and then my whole office had changed where I was at. My old platoon sergeant was gone. I said, just send me back downrange. At least I know what the fuck I'm doing down there. So I went back for 6 months.
I thought I was
So,
being smart when that 163 Armor in Germany at Vilsec was asking for volunteers to go with them to Macedonia. And it was during the spring, summertime.
mhm.
And everybody else was going to get deployed to Bosnia in the wintertime. And in Europe, the winters are harsh. So I was like, thinking I was going to be smart. I'm just going to volunteer for this assignment and go to Macedonia. And then I might even not have to go to Bosnia because as soon as I come back, they're going to be leaving. So
Right.
I volunteered. I went over to Macedonia and had a great time on Camp Able Sentry and Uniform 5-2. I lived on the side of a mountain, and I was like in charge of all the sanitation and the water and the food and everything like that, and rotating all the food because we got all the food from the UN.
Okay.
And it was nice. I mean, we did that for 6 months.
Was
And
any
then-
of that part of any of your training? I mean, food sanitation, field sanitation. I mean,
So, yeah,
other than
so-
your basic stuff, but
the basic stuff, and then you have to expound on it. So
okay.
you're told what to do, then you get these books that you have to read and understand.
Okay.
So this is my first duty assignment, my first like real world deployment, and I just coasted. I just did what I had to do, and it wasn't really. But the scary thing was like the Serbian border is where we like in Uniform 5-2. You're looking down at the Serbian border in your little tow missile sight thing, and you see them putting in mortars sometimes, and you can't do nothing about it. You just got to radio it in. Hey, the Serbs at this checkpoint 30 are putting in a mortar tube, and they're like, they call back and say, okay, just monitor that.
Right.
Roger.
Yeah.
And then we would
Yeah,
go on foot patrols in our big blue hats and our blue flag, and we would walk out there a couple miles and walk back. The presence patrols.
Yeah.
And then we would rotate. We would rotate, and go back home to Camp Able Sentry and live in the barracks for 2 weeks, and don't do anything but training.
Mhm. I was
And
a
then go
combo
back
guy.
out.
I didn't do any foot patrols, nothing. Everywhere I went was either on a C-130 or I was in a vehicle somewhere. So some sort of convoy.
So we had so much time on our hands. We everything was white, for the UN,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and we had one of our duties was changing sandbags. If the sandbag had a hole in it or it looked like it wasn't going to be white, you had to change it out. And if the rocks around your vehicle weren't white enough, you had to spray paint those white.
So did because I know we did where I was kind of all over the place, but we saw a ton of locals driving stolen UN vehicles. They were everywhere because when the UN had the mission first, right, and the NATO came in and took over the mission from the UN, and I was part of that NATO that went in, and I remember just seeing the locals had UN vehicles everywhere. So I don't know if you saw the same or not, but
I think we were UMPR4. I mean, we were UMPR4.
okay. I was
All our vehicles are white.
I-4.
My 113 was white. That's all I had was that 113. And then we were assigned, the tank. It was a tanker battalion, so everybody was a tanker guy. And I didn't have that kind of like history or lore, like to be anything other than a medic. And medics can be anybody. Any unit can have a medic, and they're all the same. But I wasn't like any loyalty to, the armor unit or infantry unit or anything like that because I just got there.
Right. I've never understood why they sent First AD, an armored division, into a mountainous territory. That just never made sense to me. And then, if you remember, right around some of that time, they sent 10th Mountain Division into, Mogadishu, right? That kind of should have been reversed. They should have sent 10th Mountain into Bosnia and should have sent First AD to Mogadishu. But That's when
I was
those
there in
guys make good money.
96. 1996 is when I was there.
Okay, I got there in December of '95. So, and then 6 months, and then back for 3, and then went for another 6. But so, at what point do you pick up E4 in any of this? Were you deployed, or were you?
Uh, after the Bosnia deployment,
Mhm. So you
I
picked
picked
up
up
E4,
E4.
the sham
Yeah.
shield.
Yeah, I never really liked that whole thing. And when everybody talks about them shamming or something like that, it gets under my fucking skin because I've never been that way. So I get I don't know if it's trouble because nobody's gonna fuck with me about it, but I got into the army to be in the army and to
Right.
do my job. So that's
Right.
just been my whole mantra the whole entire time I've been in the military.
Sure. So you make E4. You're back in Germany at this point, right?
I'm in
You're back in
Germany.
06.
Yeah, I got back from Bosnia.
Okay.
And Bosnia is what happened. My first head wound that I had to treat was in Bosnia.
And what was that like? It's kind of going
So
to
it
that.
was we're at this checkpoint between the Bosnian village, I mean the Serbian village and the Muslim village, and there's like 4 Bradleys. I'm there with 2 infantry right now, and I'm in the vehicle, the Humvee, with the lieutenant and the interpreter and myself, and we're just sitting at the checkpoint because the Bradleys go off and do their little figure 8 and come back or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I see off down the road, there's this guy running for his life, and he's being chased by all these people. And I don't know who these people are, but he's bleeding. So I yell at him to come to me, and I'm like, get the interpreter, start talking for me and stuff. He gets to me, he's bloody, his head's all bloody, his neck's all bloody, and I realized that he has a piece of brick stuck in the back of his skull. Like they were trying to kill this guy, and so they surrounded me and the interpreter, and they all had pitchforks and axes and
Oh,
2x4s and big old logs and stuff. Like they were just going to kill this guy. And none of that was my concern. I told the interpreter they all needed to back up, and they weren't backing up. And I told them they all either back up, leave, or go away, because this is my patient now. He's under my protection. And they didn't. And I pulled out my my M9, and cocked it, and I said, y'all need to get the fuck back. And they still stayed there for a little bit, but then they started to like back away. And then in the distance, you could hear the Bradleys coming back. So I holstered my weapon, and they dispersed because the Bradleys were coming in. So I didn't have to worry about anything else other than treating that guy. And I treated him. I didn't want to take that piece of brick out. It looked like, I don't know how deep it was, but it wasn't just going to fall out. It was stuck in his skull, and it was like a corner piece of a brick, And I just did a bandage dressing around it and bandaged up his head. He had some slashes on his throat, like they were trying to slit his throat, and I cleaned those up. They weren't bleeding that bad. I put a bandage around that, and then told the lieutenant, was just, oh my God, this is going on. And I was like, hey, call the commander and have him call a bird in so we can get this guy to the hospital. And the commander said no. So I told the interpreter to go get the mullah from the village to get him in a car and take him to the hospital so he can get treated, because he's in bad off shape. And they did, and nothing happened after that. I got an impact AEM.
Was this an ethnic thing? Was this Serbo-Croat versus?
So the interpreter said that this was a Muslim guy who was not really Muslim. I understand that, but he lived in that village, the Muslim village, and he was down in the Serbian village drinking and getting drunk and causing a scene. So the Serbs wanted to kill him. So I can't believe he made it. He ran. So was running down the road like that, being as drunk as he was.
The fight or flight. I mean, that's a real thing. So
yeah.
And anything else going on during that deployment? I mean, any other?
The Birchgold Bridge riot happened, but I was on leave. the Bradleys had shot warning rounds into the empty building, and then the people rioted and tore down the concertina wire and started fighting with
Right.
the people that were there. But I mean, I was on leave. I didn't see none of that.
Okay. So you go back to Germany. Did you do just that one deployment to Bosnia, or?
Just that one deployment, and then we were like, I rode out the rest of my time in Germany, got my E4, and it became time to reenlist. And I wanted to stay in the Army, and I reenlisted for nursing school.
Okay. How long was that deployment, by the way? That Bosnia deployment.
I think it was 8 months.
Okay.
It was like 8 months.
Okay.
I was on Camp McGovern.
Okay. Trying to remember where that was. So you go back to Germany and you want to apply to nursing school. You're an E4 at this time. Yeah. How much? So at this point, you're probably what, a year and a half into this Germany/Bosnia, this whole European vacation, right? So,
Yeah.
so because this was an unaccompanied tour, was this just a two year?
No, I was accompanied, so it was like 3 years.
Okay.
My wife came over right before I left for Macedonia.
Okay. Okay. So you were going to do 3 years there anyway. So you're about halfway.
Yeah, and
through.
I had a kid there. My daughter
Okay.
Dagny was born in Germany, and then we went to San Antonio. I got accepted into the nursing program for like LVM for enlisted.
Mhm.
And you had to go there for like another 8 weeks of training, and then you had to do your internship. You got to select 3, and then they gave you one of the 3. And I selected Fort Lewis, Washington, Madigan Army Medical Hospital.
Right. So does that change you from 91 Bravo to a 91 something else, or did you stay as a Bravo just with a designator?
You stay as a Bravo until you get like done with your school, and then you get awarded the MOS. And I don't remember what that one was because I didn't stay in there.
Okay.
I got done with my like the practical exercises and the 8 weeks of like pre-training, and then you get to go do your internship, where you act like one. You do the job. You take a bunch of tests, but you do the job, and then I didn't really like being a nurse and in the Army wise. The nurse is just an ass wiper and a pill pusher,
Right.
and it wasn't very stimulating, and it was sad. Like doing the cancer ward rotation, doing the old
Burn
soldiers
wards.
home,
Yeah.
old soldiers home rotation. Now the ER rotation was fun and exciting. I mean, not for the people involved, but for me as the professional medic, yes, it was. And I just didn't like it. So I had to get out by failing 3 tests in a row, like 3 math tests in a row. But I was an E4 and I did that, and you get put into this holdover status. And the company first sergeant, the company commander liked me for some reason. And the first sergeant was like, "Hey, this is what I want you to do. I want you to be my training NCO." And I was like, "Okay, I can do that." So I found out what a training NCO is all about. And then the commander was like, "Hey, this guy's doing a great job. I'm going to send him to the board. Let's get him ready for the board." So I go to the E5 board and I get it. And then I go into PLDC, and then I have massive points. So I get my E5 pretty quick.
And you're in Fort Lewis, Washington at this point?
I'm in Fort Lewis, Washington. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And PLDC for you was at back at Fort Sam, right?
PLDC was in Fort Lewis.
Oh, okay.
It was called PLDC back in the day.
Yeah.
It's called WLC now, I think.
I
don't remember how long it was, but it wasn't that long. And I got the commandant's list, and the commander and first sergeant were happy. So I got my E5, and I was like the actual training NCO. And I think I worked there for almost till 1999, 2000, 99. And then I got orders to go to Korea. My family was already in Fort Lewis, and I got orders to go to Korea for a year. So
okay.
I had to do what I had to do. I went to Korea.
Unaccompanied tour.
unaccompanied for 1 year, and I ran an aid station at Camp Humphreys, Korea. And it was a blast. I really love the Korean people. I really love being over in Korea and working in the emergency room.
So in relation to like where the DMZ is and everything, because they always ask the question. I've never been to Korea. Where's
this is down
Camp Humphreys?
low. It's way down low.
Okay.
It's close to Seoul, but it's not near it. I mean, it takes like an hour or something to drive there.
Okay.
It's nowhere near the DMZ. Camp Humphreys is like a air cav base. It's all helicopters and stuff.
Okay. So you work in an aid station, working little bit of
It was actually, it wasn't really an aid station. It was an emergency room.
Okay.
There was a clinic. It was a true medical clinic there that saw everybody on post, family members and everything. And I worked in the emergency room.
Well, just young soldiers in Korea is enough to keep any emergency room busy.
Every Friday, Saturday night, if you're on duty, you're gonna take care of somebody who was drunk driving, or down in the Ville,
fight.
getting beat up, and my fair share of stupid shit happened in Korea.
So anything stand out? I mean, you're working in this emergency room. You're pretty busy, probably. Every week.
No, I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed living on the, well, it's because I was 85. The barracks are full, so they gave me BAH to live off post, and I lived in an apartment about 4 or 5 blocks from the gate, and it was like party central because I was just E5 living by myself.
Geographical bachelor at this point.
Yeah, geographical bachelor, and I just like my landlord who lived below me, and then the roof was his too, and he did the Korean chilies. He would lay them out, and it would smell really good. And his wife did the kimchi pots on the ceiling, and it was awesome. I learned about living in another country right there, because there was you had to buy heating oil for your floor and for heating oil for your bathroom for your hot water.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, it was nice. The money conversion and stuff like that.
Right.
I enjoyed the food too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Maybe a little soju here and there.
Yeah, a little bit.
So anything else stand out in Korea? Anything?
Soju and pineapple juice. Yeah. The straw, they bring you this big bowl, and it's got 100 straws in it for everybody at the table, and you put 4 or 5 of them in your mouth, and everybody just sucks it down till it gets done, and then you order another one. Nice. Yeah.
It goes down pretty smooth, but man, you pay for it the next day.
Yeah, and sometimes I was the girl that was trying to get me to buy her drinks. I puked on her lap.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you go back to. Go ahead.
It was funny when you think about it back in your brain.
Sure. So you get done there and you go back to Fort Lewis, Washington. So
I get back to Fort Lewis because I get orders to go to 123 Infantry.
Okay. And that's out of Fort Lewis?
That's out of Fort Lewis. It's second ID, or 3rd Brigade second ID. And
is that the Tomahawks? Is that where
it's the Tomahawks? Toby? Yeah, that's where I met Toby. And we was a lot of intense training going on there. We were just now getting fielded the Striker, and we were using those German 4-wheel APC tank things. And I mean, I still had my FLA. I had my FLA until the 4-line ambulance, the Humvee ambulance, until I got my Striker. And then once we got the Strikers, went to JRTC, NTC, and got fielded and got certified to go to Iraq. I actually went to Detroit to help uh, rewrite the -10 for the Striker MEV. So we were there. We were doing all these like tests and stuff, and all these,
MEV, medevac.
the medevac, the medical evacuation vehicle variant.
Yeah.
For the Striker.
Right.
And you had to do like a -10, like operator level tasks, and they had to time them, and we did that a couple of times. But I mean, it was nice, and they gave you a nice little coin, said Striker certified, and
Nice
little certificate.
So what's the big difference in obviously other than medical equipment, right, and setup for evac between that and a standard Striker, right?
So the configuration in the back is a little bit bigger, and you have 4 motorized berths, and they go up and down, and you get really nice. Everything's new. Well, everything was new when I got it. So everything's new. You got these NBC type stretchers, and all the most current medical stuff that you can use in combat. And we had these life packs where you had to you could hook up leads and stuff and monitor all that stuff, which we never used because you didn't have time to put that shit on people.
Sure.
It was nice having an MEV because you could live out of it like a camper trailer.
You got a nice stretcher to sleep on. You've got,
Yeah. Yeah, and you got 4 of them, so you got 3 people living in a vehicle for 4.
Okay.
And we lived for 30 days when we first got there. And we went all the way up to Sadr City from Mosul, and we pretty much lived out of our vehicles for 30 days.
So for your MEV, are you a medical team, or are you just a single medical person with other infantry guys around you?
Yeah, I was a squad leader.
Okay.
And I ran the vehicle, and I had a medic who I relied on, and then I had a driver.
Okay.
And
was the driver also a medic? Okay.
All 3 of us are medics, and we could rotate out. But I had like one guy that was my driver, and one guy that was my second in command kind of guy, and then it was me. I was a squad leader. I had other medics in other platoons that would come by and check in every once in a while, but we were with the squad leader, and the squad leader's vehicle is always with the first sergeant. So we were in the HAC company.
Okay. All right. So you get these fielded at Fort Lewis, and you probably did some time down in Louisiana too, right? Did you do any time down there with them?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Fort Polk.
Yeah, it's very humid.
Our armpit of the United States. So
gave a lot of IVs that day.
Yeah, I bet. What was it like being down in Fort Polk? I mean,
it was worse than being in Texas. It was worse. The humidity is even worse.
Mosquitoes are bigger.
Mosquitoes were like were taking chickens off.
Sure, yeah.
Grabbing them and taking them off, man.
It's a state bird.
Like hawks.
Yeah. So what was that like down, other than the humidity and everything?
It was good training. We got to really operate our. When you're in infantry and you're a medic, you can choose to be like them, or you can choose to be a dick and not be like them. But all of us were like, we want to do some of the stuff too. Like, we want to learn how to operate our weapons in the squad mentality. We want to operate. We want to be able to be shooter first instead of just being medics. And they let us train with them and do things and just be like, because if the shit goes down, I don't want to be not knowing what to do.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that was my focus of just knowing everybody else's role too and how they do it and just keeping an eye on things.
Okay. Now we all know, the way you train, right? You always say train how you fight, right? But we always know that there's going to be something different. What was the first thing that went out the window when you deployed with those Strikers as these MEVs? You're like, oh man, screw that. This is out of here.
So they had this FBCB2 type Palm Pilot, and you were supposed to be able to, like, if you had a casualty, you're supposed to be able to use your little pen and touch all these things like a a field medical card, like a digital field medical card, right?
Sure.
And then when you get back, like you put all the information in, like you treat a casualty, you put all this information in, and when you take your casualty back to the hospital, whatever hospital, you're supposed to be able to beam it or Bluetooth it to the next guy. Well, they never had their shit up. So why am I doing this? We stopped using it. I didn't use none of that.
So you just went to paper,
I didn't even use paper.
verbal.
The casualties that we had, I just handed them over. They didn't care. The doctors and the surgeons who are, knee-deep in blood don't care about your
Right.
story.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
I got 3 casualties. One is, one's not breathing very well, blah, blah, blah. They're like, they don't give a shit. They want the casualties so they can assess them.
Sure. Yeah.
So
They're
that
gonna do their
got,
own assessment anyway. So
so that got kind of like, even you got a casualty, if they want you to give a report, then you got to be ready to give it. But normally they're not taking a report. They're just taking the casualty. And then it's your responsibility to keep up with that casualty.
right. Yeah.
So
Awesome.
like the PA and the medical lieutenant that's over us has a tracker for all that. And all we do is we put the name. We have a casualty. His name is so-and-so. This is where he's at right now. And then he'll track them. And then the officers do all that tracking.
Right.
So
Anything else? Anything else get tossed out from, you're like, hey, we trained this way or we use this equipment. Anything else get kind of just like, well, that's useless.
Well, anything that had to do with EMT skills and being proficient at O2 and transport, that's not, I never gave anybody oxygen. So I had to keep them filled, but I never gave an IV to anybody because we were always like 5 to 7 minutes out. If we took a casualty, we drove right to Merez on the airfield.
Okay. Probably some
And
IVs for dehydration, and that was about it, right?
Yeah, like if people wanted an IV, I would always give them one. Like it's there, and nobody's using it, so might as well.
Toss a fentanyl
Training, like
lollipop
when
in
you
their
had
mouth
downtime, training for real world and learning those mistakes that were made previous to us coming down there. You have to listen to those briefs, and then you just add it to your rucksack, and keep going.
So who did y'all replace when you went in that first time? What unit?
It was an airborne unit. I'm not good at remembering anybody other than what my shit was going on.
Sure.
So I think it was 82nd Airborne, or it could have been 101st. I don't know. Whoever has those black ace of spades on their sides of their helmets.
I want to say it's 101st. I want to say
That's who we did Right See Ride with, and we took over when we got to Merez, and I was on Cop Blick.
Okay. My last duty station was Fort Bragg, and I don't ever remember seeing any black spades on any of the.
Me and Toby both were on Cop Blick.
Okay. So anything else stand out other than tossing the Palm Pilot? We're not doing this shit. Anything else stand out from that deployment?
There's other things that stand out other than gear.
Yeah.
Like I lost a good friend of mine,
Okay.
Sergeant Jacob Demand. I talk about it in my book. It's hard.
Right.
We before we went to Iraq together, we were roommates because we were both going through a divorce.
Okay.
And we both had kids, and we both traded off weekends where I would bring my kids into the barracks and watch them because that's the only place I had, And we did that. He brought his kids one weekend, and I brought my kids one weekend, and we did training together. And when 3 of our guys got killed in Iraq, we were on a detail to go get their bodies and bring them back.
Okay.
From Dover.
Right.
Which is the name Cop Blickenstaff is named after Blickenstaff. He passed away before we even got to Iraq. So they named that cop Blickenstaff.
Okay. Hey, anything else during that deployment?
Not really.
Okay. So you go back to Fort Lewis, right? And
I mean, they're getting ambushed and blown up and stuff. You want to hear about?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So we took an IED to our front wheels one day, and it melted our front wheels. They were on fire, but we just kept rolling forward because we could still have mobility. And the whole platoon that was out was just rolled back to Marez. Nobody got hurt. And they met us kind of at the gate. We turned into the gate of Marez and drove up the road. And the mechanics met us and were putting out the fire as we rolled into the bay.
You got 6 other tires. It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just glad nobody got hurt.
Yeah. That's good. So you go back to Fort Lewis, right?
Go back to Fort Lewis. I'm still at 114 Cav. And I mean, I'm still. Let me back up because I'm going to tell a story about Jacob first.
Okay.
So Jacob and I were roommates, right? And we were both in 123 infantry. We were trained to go to Iraq with our unit. And because I was at BNOC, and that's why I got stuck 3 months behind. I didn't mention that, but I was at BNOC and I was going through a divorce, and me and him had become friends. And then when we get to Iraq, they asked for NCOs, like riflemen, sergeants that were, could go to 114 Cav. And he got selected, and he had to go to 114 Cav. And that's when he got killed. He got killed in an ambush. And we didn't like 114 Cav for some reason. We lost our friend from 123 infantry who was trying to, was going over there and helping out. And we were pretty upset about it. We didn't know everything that went on. We didn't know everything that was going on, but I was upset. And then we hemmed and hawed and whatever. We finished our unit. We finished our duty and we came back home, and I got promoted to staff sergeant. And they moved me to 114 Cav. And we're going back to Iraq. Yeah, so I took over the NCOIC of the 8 station duties for 114 Cav. Okay. On my second tour to Iraq in 2006, I wasn't like running and gunning with the boys. I was, at the 8 station treating sick call kids and, profiles and dealing with people's appointments and stuff. And it was monotonous and it was fun and nothing was going on except, the occasional rocket or mortar round. And then, Bob Falcon blew up. It was in the news, 2006, Bob Falcon, almost an entire base was on fire, like rockets. The mortar round hit the ammo dump and blew up all the ammo. And the CNN said we had to evacuate. And we're all like watching the TV, we're watching AFN, and they're coming on telling us that we evacuate. We're like looking at each other like, what the fuck? We're here playing Ghost Recon. We get sequestered into our rooms, and we're like, stay there, put your helmet and Kevlar and stuff on. So we're still playing, like the electricity's still on, so we're still playing Ghost Recon. And well, not everybody, but it was all in my room. 2 guys were playing because you're going to play 2-player. And we were just kind of waiting and watching or whatever. And like the sky fell on us, and it was like so many rockets, so many. They thought I guess they got a good hit, and they just kept launching rockets and stuff. But the outgoing was taking care of those people, and finally it just stopped, and we had to do like hands across the fob, picking up all the unexploded ordnance or putting a little flag on it. Well, some people died, like some Indian. What do you call them? MWR they worked for the Chow Hall
Hmm.
and MWR, and they were like they had their own little like area, and they got some of those people got killed, and a lot of people got injured, and nothing pretty much happened to us, but we just kept on doing our mission.
I know you said
Um,
you weren't running gunning. Did you? But did you notice any difference between your first deployment and your second deployment in the tactics by the enemy? Because the tactics change, right? And we watched it. If
well,
from the outside, if you watch that in the entire 20 years, right, you can
our
tell and you can see the tactics changing as
I
they
didn't
went
see
along.
their tactics change, but our ROE changed.
Okay,
So, in 2003, I mean, we were killing everybody.
sure.
It's like if you didn't read our sign that was in Arabic to stay away from our vehicle, you were considered a threat. And you died. If you ran our checkpoint, you died. And
Right.
you raised your weapon at us, we got killed.
Sure.
And we didn't ask questions about it. Now, the second tour, everybody was like, they're allowed to have one weapon. They can't point it at us. And if they shoot at us, then you can shoot them type shit.
Right.
But there were still IEDs going off, a lot of pressure plate, a lot of cell phone detonations and stuff like that. But I wasn't outside the wire a lot until we went to Diwania. Now, Diwania was a special mission inside our mission, and we went to Diwania to help there was a Polish base there with a bunch of other entities that were there. And we got into a conflict with the Jaish Ahmadi, the JLM. I don't really pay attention to who they were calling themselves, but a lot of them died, and I had to treat a couple of them because like they got shot in the head, and it went through the teeth and out the side of their neck,
Mhm.
and the medics were out there. They had to treat them, and then they brought them back to the aid station, and I had to continue treating them with the Polish surgeons. We saved that guy, and he was yelling at me to leave, like, to not kill him. And I'm like, I was trying to tell the interpreter, like, tell him I'm trying to save his fucking ass. Why would I be trying to kill him? Man, you mean,
They
he
can just
should
leave
have
you
been dead
there.
already.
Yeah, I can
I'm
just
not
leave
trying
you
to
there.
kill you, man. I'm trying to save you. And
Yeah.
so he ended up getting saved. And then we had some rockets blow up the Chow Hall, and a lot of casualties from that. And then we had the MWR facility where you take your laundry,
Hmm.
the laundry facility that got vaporized and killed killed a girl
Mm.
and injured a few other people that we treated. And my buddy and I were sitting on the front. We had this little smoking area, and this rocket came over our heads, and I thought a plane was crashing. It was coming like right over our heads, and we're just like, "Oh fuck, we're dead," And it went right over our heads, and that's when it blew up the Chow Hall. And so we survived that, but then we had to go, grab casualties and bring them back to the ASIS and treat the ones we could. And
Was Toby on
mortar-
this deployment with you?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, he might not have. I don't know. I don't remember having any interaction with him.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was in the A station, I was a part of. He was 123 infantry, and I was 114 cav,
Right.
and I think we kind of lost touch after I left 123 infantry. Because we didn't reconnect till like I came back home.
Okay.
And retired in 2015.
Okay.
But the aid station got hit by a rocket, and it was a dud, and it went through two walls. It missed one of those tall oxygen tanks, about 2 inches, and went through the wall and went through the floor and hit the steel girder underneath it and bounced back up and landed right in front of the guy on the MWR phone. And then we had to call EOD and get it removed. And it's like, oh man, it's not armed. And he just threw it over his shoulder and walked out.
I bet that scared the shit out of the guy on the phone.
Scared the shit out of all of us. We're standing in line to use the fucking phone.
Nice.
Chad, right. If you see this, you know, you're much respect, man. You do what you had to do. You stood your ground and you didn't move and you did what you're supposed to do, man. Awesome.
Nice. Anything else out of that deployment?
Yeah, something really big. This is what we go back and we're getting ready to leave, right? And that's when the fire happened. The generator blew up by my aid station and doused this poor girl with generator fuel, like they did diesel, basically, and she was on fire from her feet to her toe, from her head to her toes. And you know, as a medic, I'm screaming for a fire extinguisher or a blanket or something like that. I ran to her and I jumped on her and I smashed the flames out with my body and my forearms, my hands, and it would reignite. And then I wrote it. That's what the book's about. The book's about that story. You know, it goes into more detail. But I've never been more pissed off in my life. I have never had that much adrenaline in my life. It was an experience in and of itself. And it's like, man, you just got to buy the book and read more about that one.
Right. Yeah. So when did you complete this book?
4 days ago.
4 days ago. And so it's on sale on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. It's already the #1 in biographies in the region.
Awesome.
I mean, I thought that was awesome too.
Yeah, that is really awesome. That is really awesome. Does that what span does that book cover?
My entire career.
Okay.
It covers my entire career up until the point where I retire and start Junkyard Tactical.
Okay.
But the reason I started it, like in the book, I explained that I'm having a PTSD. I'm having a rough time. I'm not talking about it. I'm not telling anybody about it. I lost another wife because of it. I'm pretty sure. And what was I going to say? I just threw myself into my work, and I went back. You know, I got back early, so I was there recuperating while everybody else was still in Iraq. And then life just kind of, you know, I had missions to do, so I just kept going forward. And they put me in for the soldier's medal, and at the time, I was like, "Yeah, cool, all right, thank you." You know, I'll accept that. And then she died. She died 3 months later, and that sent me into a depression.
Right. Yeah.
And I had to deal with that, and a lot of crying, a lot of anger, a lot of just a lot of bullshit that I had to deal with, and I just did it. And then I got to go to Fort Sill to be an instructor for a CLS instructor for basic trainings, pretty much as a staff sergeant.
Okay.
And Fort Sill, I mean, it's nothing about the people. It's not about the people. Well, it's about some of the people. So
it's Oklahoma. We're both from
the
Texas.
The way that unit was ran with having to teach CLS pretty much 7 days a week, and in between classes, you had to do like on call, like grenade range, or medevac training. Not training, but you had to be the medic on the range.
Sure.
And then Saturday and Sundays. So if Saturdays went well and everybody tested out for CLS, then you didn't have to come in on Sunday. So
Right.
you might get Sunday off.
So CLS,
Right.
Combat Lifesaver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are basic trainees. They get the full shebang. And
Okay.
it was a little more in depth than what you get in your unit from a medic. You know, this is like the full blown everything that's in that book is taught to you. You have to take this long written test, then you have to do the IV test, and then you have to do the practical exercises on the ground on a trauma lane, like EFMB type stuff.
Mhm.
And if everything went well, everybody, went through and passed or whatever, and it was all good, then you had to come in on Sunday. But it never happened.
You were there every Sunday.
It was like I was at work 24/7, 7 days a week. And
How
if you
long did
made
you do that for?
I did it for 9 months.
Ooh, that's a long stretch.
And the only reason I did it for that length of time is because I saw this requisition for E6 and above medic for a 10-man mid team to go to Iraq and live with the Iraqis. And I selected yes and volunteered to go back to Iraq because I hated it so much. And it was a really good deployment. Let's put it that way.
The last trip to Iraq.
The last deployment to Iraq was very. I felt it was upscale.
Okay.
It's a special forces mission that
Right.
these 10-man mid teams were taking over. You live with the Iraqis and you train them. So you have I was the medic, the sole medic, and they had a commo guy. It was sole commo guy. They had an infantry guy. They had a weapons expert guy. They had a vehicle and logistics guy, and then they have these officers that were like S2, S1, S3 in the colonel.
Okay.
And we went to Iraq and we lived with the Iraqi army, and the special forces compound is connected to the very back gate into the Iraqi soldiers compound. So I would go out that back gate and just go into where my soldiers were and train them to be medics.
Okay.
I trained about 2,000 medics that year.
Wow.
And I had like 30, I don't know, 30 guys per class. And I was just teaching them everything. I mean,
So
it wasn't really like.
What was that like teaching them? I mean, versus there's a language barrier, obviously, and then
We had really good
large,
interpreters. We had
Yeah,
really
there's
good interpreters, and a lot of them spoke English.
right. Well, there's also a large portion of the population that doesn't read or write, right?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
so
I
I
didn't-
mean,
I didn't have any issues teaching them. They were like sponges, man. Especially if I talked through the interpreter told them exactly what I was saying. They were like, they soaked it up. They became those guys. I trained them with what they needed to know, not a bunch of bullshit.
right. And how long was this deployment?
It was almost 13 months,
Wow, it's pretty good.
and I had a really big bank account, and I could like ask for stuff. I also half our mission was with the army, and the other half was with the police force in Diyala. And we would go to the Diyala police station, and I had a counterpart that I had to talk to, and I taught him how to build an aid station, and how to stock it, what to stock it with, what's necessities, and then how to run an aid station, and the logistics and the ordering and all that stuff.
Right.
I taught him how to do that too. That worked out in the beginning, but then one day I showed up to talk to my counterpart and ask him how it was going and stuff. And he's like, "I'm sorry, I don't have any of the equipment you gave me." And I was like, "Well, what happened?" "Oh, we traded it for something else." What? Like all this badass equipment I'm giving them, and then because their culture, it's like if you want something and you have something that they want, and you make a trade.
Trade, yeah.
And it's big, the barter system, the trading back and forth and all that stuff. Like, I mean, of course, they didn't give a shit. They came from the U.S. military.
You're right. Yeah.
So what I started doing is instead of spending my money, the taxpayers' money, there's stuff that's already been bought and sold in units that are leaving. So there might be a medical unit that's leaving and they can't take, 10 crates of crutches back home with them.
Sure.
So I'd go to these aid stations and just grab stuff that they were going to leave behind
Sure.
and utilize that. And that including medications, and stuff that they were going to throw away. And I would take all that stuff and I'd be like, instead of spending the money, I would just use stuff you were going to throw away in the first place.
Sure. Yeah.
It's still good. It's still good. And I didn't understand why. I mean, America spends all this money on like a functional bed, like a hospital operating room table, and then just leave it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I took it and then I gave it to the Iraqis.
Oh, and then it got traded for something else later.
Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I don't know.
Right.
But that was a really good. I only got blown up once.
Okay.
And I didn't actually get blown up. It was the vehicle in front of me. We hit. I saw the explosion. Everybody was looking at this pyramid of rocks on the right hand side of the road, and we're all like, "Why is there a pyramid of rocks on the side of the road? What is that?" There's people standing around it, and then boom! It just blows up, takes out the vehicle in front of us, and it stops. And then they're calling for me to come assess the casualty. And so the Iraqi police officers are around, they're shooting. They're just shooting in the air and stuff, and people are running around. And I was looking for people that, may have been hurt on the Iraqis that were hurt. I didn't see anybody, but I duck walked, and I was duck walking fast, and I had my weapon forward, and I grabbed my A bag, and I just got down low and walked really fast to the next vehicle. And I got inside, and it was overpressure. Ear,
Sure.
what do you call them? The eardrums busted.
Right.
Yeah. Just two of them, two guys.
And
with the
what about the
eardrum
Iraqis
busted.
that were standing around the pile?
We could move, so we moved.
Okay.
We moved out.
Okay.
It took out the air conditioner, and it did a lace job on the gunner's turret.
Okay.
Like put holes in it.
Oh wow. So it was pretty
Yeah.
good.
It was a
explosion.
ball. It was a ball bearing, C4 and ball bearings in rocks.
Right.
Yeah.
So anything else stand out during that deployment? I mean, that was your third and final deployment, right?
Yeah, it was like I really got big into the being resourceful
Mm-hmm.
and just being able to use my surroundings to make things that I needed. And I mean, I've always been good at being resourceful throughout my military career because sometimes you don't have enough money and you gotta make do with what you got. Instead of like having to buy a bunch of stuff, you can just make that stuff with stuff you have lying around.
Right.
One thing I did, I needed a dummy, and I asked for a dummy. I said, I want one of those dummies that I can like do trauma with and like show them how to stop bleeding and stuff like that. Something I could get my fingers in and show them like, how to do all that. And I got told no. So I took the foam out of our weapons cases and I made a dummy out of foam.
Sure.
And I put a uniform on, a foam dummy. And then I started teaching them how to, pack bullet wounds and tertiary wounds and how to wrap them and how to,
Right.
do stuff with that. That was pretty cool. Our commander, Colonel Metz, was like, I think he was pretty satisfied. I think he liked that.
Nice. So anything else stand out from that deployment?
No, not really. I started talking to my current wife.
Okay.
We reconnected after being apart for so long. We dated as teenagers, and she just asked me how I was doing one day, and I was like, I'm in Iraq.
Nice.
And one thing led to another, and I come back home from. Let me back up. So I didn't just go on this deployment. I had to do 3 months at Fort Riley of special
Kansas.
training,
Right.
cross training, and like defensive training, and escape and evasion training, and
Seer. Yeah.
tip belt training, and defensive driving, and all that cool high speed stuff, and cross training on every weapon known to man. And the commo was like high speed movie tech. Like you throw this thing out there and it transformed like a robot into a disc, and you had a sat phone and all that cool shit.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty high speed.
Nice.
Oh, and while I was on that deployment, I had this special laptop. And all I needed was internet access, and I could talk to any surgeon in BAMC.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the medics had to go to an additional like 3 weeks of training at it's called advanced trauma course.
Okay.
And one of my buddies taught that. It was pretty cool. Sergeant Buford. He's a really good guy. He's a really like awesome medic. And it's the aggressive trauma, bleeding loss, stopping the bleeding loss,
Sure.
and how to pack your A bag a certain way. And
Sure.
it was good training, a very, very good training. And then you had to go through the GOAT lab again, and which is always good. It's always good training.
Is that the building right next to BAMC? That the research and development? Is that where the GOAT lab is?
It's it
Down
used to be
underground?
So it's not. No, it's not underground. It's it's like a clinic right there behind this old CIF.
Okay.
And so the thing underground is like the body farm, or I want to say body farm.
Well, they
But
had right next to BAMC, they had a building, and it was even more secure than BAMC was. And you would go down a floor, and so you were down below, and that's where when I was working there, that's where the animals were. So, you
Because
could smell it.
when I
You could
did
smell it when you went in.
when I did the GOAT lab, it was its own building.
Okay.
In between like the old CIF or like the current CIF, I don't know. I haven't been there in a long time,
Right.
but it was the CIF. Then there was the GOAT lab, and then it would like go down a little further, and there would be the PX right there.
Okay. I think I know. I think I remember where that was.
It's kind of the same line as like where that Burger King was, the new Burger King they put in 1995, I think it was.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And anything else stand out? I mean, at this point, when you get done with this deployment, where did you go back to? Where were you calling home at this point?
So I had chosen to come back to Fort Hood.
Okay.
It was called Fort Hood at the time.
Right.
Because I was nearing my 20 years, and I thought I'll just do the rest of my time in Fort Hood and retire.
Okay.
And I made E7, and I was in charge of Thomas More Health Clinic.
Okay.
As the NCOIC of Thomas More Health Clinic, and I was the NCOIC of Bennett Health Clinic, which is the family clinic. And that's when I got introduced to having to deal with civilians.
Yeah.
The people that I guess they're not CNAs. They're the people that are on the computer when you're in line and you're like, they call you up next, and then they see what your appointment is and all that stuff. Those ladies, I had to control them. And it's the enlisted personnel that work there.
Okay.
And then all the equipment, like $30 million worth of equipment.
Okay.
We had like, we had ears, nose and eyes, throat, and immunizations, and X-ray.
Oh, wow.
And eye doctor, and all that good stuff. So
That's a lot
all that
of stuff for a
equipment just,
Right.
wow, it's crazy.
Okay. So you retire, right?
No,
And
I still get sent to, when I make E7, I think I'm doing great. And then I had some issues, and I stepped on my dick with my golf cleats and set it on fire, and got in trouble. And I got put into, because I was on the fast track to be like being first star major, all that stuff, right?
Right.
And that's if I stayed in past my 20. But I was having some mental health issues, and I sought help
Okay.
while I was in, and I didn't care if there was a stigma or not. I just went because I had to get it. I had to, and I went through this thing called Strong Star, and it helped me out. It set me on the path to form Junkyard Tactical, and I talk about it in depth in the book. But basically, the Strong Star program was the matchstick for Junkyard Tactical.
Okay.
When I got out.
That's where I was going next. Was what is Junkyard Tactical, and what made you start that?
So I still had like 2 more years left in the Army,
Mhm.
or 3. I think it was 3. Yeah, I went to 566 ASMC and became a platoon sergeant for ASMC, Area Medical Support Hospital. It's one of those rapid deployment hospitals, like anywhere in the United States within 96 hours, we can deploy to treat casualties of like nuclear, biological, or chemical.
Okay.
And I ended up being the first sergeant for like 6 months, and then I retired.
Okay. And then
And
how did you get to Junkyard Tactical?
so I had homework to do in my Strong Star program, and because I didn't like fire. I just avoided it, And they're like, well, just go home and do a cook on the grill, watch fireworks, or do something that's related to, like fire. You have a fireplace, light a fire, and just look at it, And I did. I did. And so I've been watching Forge and Fire, and I was like, my dad taught me how to do this. And I never cared. I never I cared, but I never really thought about me actually doing it.
Mhm.
I always thought it'd be cool to make, with my Norwegian heritage, I'd make a barbarian sword or make a Norwegian like Viking sword. I always wanted to do that. And that was one of the first things I made was this Viking sword, and I gave it to my son. But I just because I have an art thing going on in my head, and then I have my dad's knowledge of making knives, and having to thrust myself into like making a fire. I just built myself a forge one day out of a hole in the ground and some bricks, and I used a hairdryer to, get it hot enough for me to bang on some steel, and I made a knife, and it's in the book. The first knife I made is in the book. I don't have a picture of it on right now, but people liked it. They thought this is a crazy idea, and I started adding my own artwork to it. And then I just kept getting better and better. And then with the book, I talk about how part of my healing is I make something beautiful out of the fire. The fire is chaos. I control that chaos. It's mine. It's my bitch, and I can make it do what I want. And I'll make something beautiful to honor her. That's what I do.
Very nice. Very nice. And so
I have a knife if you want to see it.
Sure.
Yeah, I just did. You got time for me to run off set real quick?
Absolutely.
All right, I'll be right back.
So if you want to check out his book, it is available on Amazon. Um, From Fire to Forge, Walk Through the Flames. You can check out that book. Like I said, it is on Amazon. He just released it this last month, and please go ahead and check that out. I'll put the link in the bottom. So,
All right, I'm back.
okay.
So this is a knife I made for my buddy.
Oh, awesome, Texas.
So you can see I'm getting really good at the leather work, but so the handle is as acrylic, it's clear,
Okay.
and then a knife.
Wow, that's awesome. Oh, I like the Texas 1836. That's pretty awesome.
So this stipple work that I do, plus the artwork, is all acid etched.
Okay.
And I do I paint it with black model paint.
Mm-hmm.
And I set it in acid, then I wash it off, and then I set it in acid again, and then I sand it with 15 or 1,000 grit sandpaper, and all these little details just kind of pop out.
Right. Yeah, that looks pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. So let's see if we can kind of wrap this up. Is there anything that you can think of that you want the world to know, want future generations to know? That's kind of the purpose of this series, is to kind of document everything that we can. So is there anything you can think of that you want everybody to know, whether it was a deployment, whether it was somebody you saw somebody do something that was fantastic, maybe you saw something that wasn't so fantastic, but is there anything that you want people to know?
Future soldiers need to understand that if they volunteer to be in the United States Army, then it's not a democracy. It shouldn't be a democracy. We are apolitical. We need to listen to our leaders, our first line leaders, our squad leaders, our platoon sergeants, our first sergeants, and our majors. Those people are telling you to do things for a reason. And that reason is for your safety and security while you're in the Army.
Sure.
You may not like it, but they don't give a shit. If you like it, you volunteered to be in the Army, you follow the orders, you go into combat with that knowledge, that training, that you need to listen to your platoon sergeant, who's your squad leader, and it just becomes a flowing action of violence that destroys the enemy, and then you go home. That's what we're there for. This is not a socialist experiment.
Mm-hmm.
You're there to do do your job, and do it to the best of your ability.
Sure.
If you're a medic, don't think that you're going to be working in a hospital your whole entire career. You're probably going to be on the line at some point.
Right.
And when you're on the line, you need to know your shit. If you don't know your shit, you need to learn it, because you will get called out by the infantry. Sure. I don't know about anybody else, but you will get called out by the infantry.
Right. I always used any, if I had a leader or something that I worked for that, if I didn't agree with whatever orders, I still followed the orders, but I always use that as motivation to get myself promoted to the next, so that I could be the one giving the orders. And I think that was one of the things that I always strived for, was if you don't like the situation you're in, work yourself into that position so that you're the one giving the orders. So that's the great thing about the meritocracy in the military is you have that ability to proceed.
Yeah, I understand that point of view, but if you so there's a difference between bad leader and good leader, and not liking something a good leader says. So if a good leader is telling you what to do and you don't like it and you think you can do it better, you really need to understand why he's telling you to do that, because there may be circumstances beyond his control that he has no control over, that he has to do this, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, if I was an E5, I could do it better than him, blah, blah. And then as soon as you get into that E5 position, you understand that he had to do those things. He was told, by a sergeant major or a first sergeant to do it exactly this way, and he was doing it exactly that way. Could you have done it better? Maybe. You might end up doing it just like he did. you know,
Sure.
or she, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd always try to tell my people, like, you know, if you don't know exactly what's going on, and I get enough to give you an order, if I have time enough to explain it to you, I will, but I don't have to.
Sure.
I just need you to do what I'm telling you to do and do it
Right.
in a timely manner.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, we'll have you back on a Thursday series, and we'll talk in depth about the book. And we'll, you know, like I said, we'll go in and we'll have some more visuals and stuff like that. So any last words you want to leave us with?
Is Toby going to be on the next one?
We could try to get him on. Yeah, Toby stays pretty busy. You know, Toby's running his fishing business down in Cabo.
Yeah, he's always wet. He's always got a hook wet.
Yeah, so he stays pretty busy, but I'll reach out to him and I'll see if we can get him on and have him do the interview. I think that'd be perfect.
I think it'd be fun. I haven't
Yeah.
seen him in a while.
Yeah, I've known him for about 10 years, almost 10 years, I guess. He hadn't changed since I've known him. So
Yeah.
yeah. All
He's
right,
either
sir.
got a shaved head or a head full of hair. So
He's got a head full of hair last time I saw him, and a nice kind of reddish tan. I don't know if it's really tan. He's kind of white like me. So
I watch his videos. I watch his videos all the time.
Yeah. Toby's a
All
great
right, man.
guy.
I'll come back. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, hang on. I'm going to play the outro, and I'll talk to you on the backside.
All right, thanks.